Last year, in fact, was a challenging year in Asia. Internally, we had rising inflation. Externally, we see the deterioration in the global situation, which is something that we cannot control. So it is right that last year, in terms of market performance, was a disappointing year. A lot of the Asian markets went south. Now, having said that, a lot of the key drivers from a structural perspective remains unchanged. For example, we have a very young population and also a very large population. We've got over 3 billion people in Asia. And in terms of certain countries, India, we have over 50% of the population is younger than 25 years old. That will remain as a key driving force for Asia. In addition, we're seeing the urbanization trend in Asia, where each year we're seeing over 15 million people moving from the rural areas to the city areas. That creates a lot of investment opportunities for investors. Secondly, investors should consider whether it is a sector fund or it is a thematic fund. For sector fund, for example, if people like the consumer demand, it will be the traditional consumer staples and discretionary. However, if you think about a thematic approach, that means everything driven by domestic consumption. For example, recently there is a lot of demand on smartphones or internet messaging services. Those would traditionally fall under the information technology sector, but in fact it is driven by domestic consumption, and they'll be able to capture via a thematic approach. Regarding infrastructure, we can broadly classify it into 4 areas. The first one is economic infrastructure. That is any infrastructure development that will support economic growth. That will include the building of airport, transportation system. The second would be social infrastructure. I've talked about the urbanization trend earlier, so a lot of the development related to the people side, especially, for example, hospital, etc., that will fall under this category. The third category will be utility. That will be traditional utility plus alternative energy. The last one will be commercial infrastructure, or the network, internet, etc., that will assist the day-to-day communications of people and business. We see numerous opportunities in areas driven by domestic consumption. Take, for the example of the traditional consumer staples that will include food, beverages, etc. We see a lot of demand, for example, snacks for kids, biscuits. So with the rising income in Asia, even in the rural areas, people are able to afford to have more snacks. We're talking about rice crackers, etc. for kids. And also for drinks, of course, soft drinks. In Asian, people like to drink tea. So we have a lot of different types of teas. For us, we like to invest in the local companies because we want to ride with the Asian growth. We want to be early in investing in the Asian companies. To be very honest, some of the names, people may not know about it on a global basis at the moment, but they are future brands in the making. So we want to be early, invest in those companies and grow with them and grow with the Asian resident. I think it's not risky if we look at the thematic funds, but investors need to consider it from 2 perspectives. The first is whether it's a single country or is it a regional thematic funds. If it's a single country thematic fund, in our view, the universe could be restricted and that would capture the investment opportunities. However, if it's a regional fund, that will be broad-based a lot of opportunities across various countries. Yes, it's right. A lot of Korean companies had gained sizable share in the global marketplace. The reason for this can be traced back to the financial crisis, the Asian financial crisis back in 1997. Before that, a lot of Korean companies are very eager to grow. They expand the balance sheet, they do a lot of borrowing without looking into very carefully in managing their cash flows and also earnings. And after the Asian financial crisis, they go through a very painful restructuring. And now a lot of the Korean companies are very competitive and they have much stronger balance sheet. So it's not surprised to see many more Korean companies will become very big on a global basis.